Hello, everybody. Recovering from an unseasonably early heat wave in Toronto, I am one of your hosts, Scott.
Hello, and I'm Andy, coming to you from the United Kingdom, having returned from a very wet Paris this weekend.
I had to think about that for a minute. This is the T and Timbits podcast, global perspectives on business development to help you prosper. We'll get into our topic in a moment. We're going to start talking about corporate culture. Andy, I think you had some reflections you wanted to share.
I do. We're moving into a new series this week, aren't we?
We are, yes.
Well, in fact, this month. I mean, we're going to be focusing on an interesting area, which I'm looking forward to getting into. But before I do, I actually have a story I wanted to share because it's revisiting a scenario from about 6 months ago. It was a company I was working with, a mid-sized let's say maritime logistics company, and they were looking to expand into Asia, and this was something that they had actually done. They had started the process, but what they'd done is they'd taken a lot of their European processes and procedures and basically just set up an office over there and trying to replicate it. And of course, part of the challenge that they faced was that they weren't getting the traction, they weren't getting the interest, they weren't getting the success that they should have been having, considering, this is a good medium-sized company that has a good reputation, does a good job, and but was just struggling to break that Asian market, which was a very good opportunity for them. And so when I got involved, what we did is we focused on essentially trying to get them to localize their business. So we did a period of market research. We customized the sales approach. We started building up some relationships with local potential partner organizations, but also local representatives of their existing customer base within Europe and North America. And then we went through a period of training the team because, of course, they were hiring a mix of local and expat staff to launch across the Asian market, and they were not familiar with working in that area or with this particular company. So it was a bit of a package of solutions that we put together. The reason I wanted to talk about it today is that now we're 6 months on from that, and they have managed to increase their sales and success in Asia. Having been there for about a year prior to us doing all of this, they've increased their sales by 40%, which is quite a significant increase, and they're very happy about it. And they got in touch with me this week to let me know about that, and that's of course very good. They've secured some several high value contracts, and high profile contracts, in fact, is the term they used, and they're now starting to be seen as a credible player in the Asian market as well, which is really fantastic news. So the reason I wanted to share it is the importance of localization, of understanding your local market, the market that you're working in, understanding the importance of respecting cultural differences, and that you can't just pick up a business from North America and replicate it in Europe. You can't take a business from Europe and replicate it in Asia, and so on and so on. It's very important to understand that local market, do your market research, and build those local relationships before trying to launch, if you want it to be a success.
And I think just sort of excuse me, the intention and the structure and process that they didn't sort of cowboy it, so to speak. They didn't think that it was just going to be a transplantable solution. So I love it. It also reminds me I need to follow up with you on another.
That's right. Yeah, you sent me an email about something else.
Very good. So getting into our topic for today, this week, this month, we're going to talk about corporate culture broadly. We've got some specific episodes that we're going to explore around that. I think today, to sort of kick off that theme, we would talk more generally about the importance of corporate culture and what that means, and I think also how to do it. So what are you hoping that our listeners will take away from that conversation today?
Well, I think in general, actually, the series, I think this is very important topic, and I think now, as we're in the summer holiday period, is actually a good time to start thinking about those things if you're not already doing it, and making the necessary changes so that when people are coming back from holiday, often with a bit of a fresh energy and a new approach to things, that the organisation is set up, ready, and focused on how to move into success in the rest of the year and moving forward beyond that, and also making sure that you're attracting the right talent, you're
Yes.
supporting the right talent, and that you're allowing the talent that you have to grow and succeed in the areas that they wish and that they need to.
So I'm gonna pick up on a point there to sort of make my first comment about this topic, which is you said to attract the right talent, and what you didn't say was actually to attract the best talent.
No.
Because I think, in my opinion, what this is about is just being quite honest with yourself and your own organization about what your corporate culture is. I think, and then being clear about that,
Yeah.
and making sure that when you're attracting talent, you're attracting the right talent that fits that culture that you already have established. I think when corporate culture, I'm using air quotes for people who aren't watching this, to I think corporate culture is also sort of misunderstood. There's this expectation that it has to be about excitement and super fun and and foosball tables and thirsty Thursdays and beer
I see. Yeah, yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, and that's corporate culture. And when we hire people at Flywheel, at my business, the question comes up. It's you never really bring it up, but it's often a question that the interviewee will ask when you say, "Do you have any questions?" Well, what it's like to work there. And I say, you know what? It's pretty heads down, serious kind of get your work done thing, and we take a lot of pride in solving tricky problems and kind of geeking out on how we're doing that and the solutions that we have. And if you walk in here, on a quote unquote busy day, everybody's got their headphones on and it's pretty quiet. You could hear a pin drop. We're all chatting with each other virtually, and we all have a lot of fun doing that quietly in our own little lane and recognizing that. And that's our corporate culture. And so I think that some people go, "Oh God, that sounds awful," and some people go, "Oh my God, I just can't. That's what I want. I want that. I can't believe you just said that."
Yeah.
Because that's
I think that
delightful.
as you said, I mean, it's a lot of the times a culture isn't established, and there is no authentic culture, and it is replaced with fun and distractions and great coffee machines and all of the peripherals. And yet, how do you then
good coffee machine?
Yeah, no, these things are important, but those are things. I mean, it's important for people to be able to switch off in one way or another. But if you don't have a culture, what happens when people are working from home? What happens when people are working remotely? What happens when people are out in the field with customers? If you have an established corporate culture, then people behave in a certain way because they know what's expected of them and they know what they stand for. They know what they're working towards and they know what they're supporting, and they know that they will be supported if they're taking a certain approach towards things because it matches with their corporate culture. It's very important, again, like any of the processes and other things that we've talked about, that these things are written down and are clearly communicated and repeated and understood by everybody in the organization and lived.
Yes, lived. Yeah. Now, I mean, listen, it's not to say that we don't have social events and
Of
want
course,
some of that team camaraderie. We're going off to the Toronto Blue Jays baseball game as a team soon. It will often sort of go out for drinks after dinner, after work or something like that. I guess a little bit less so in recent years, but everybody's working from home. But that just that comes around organically
Yeah.
because you like the people that you're working with, and it's not like our next corporate event shall be. I mean, the reason we're going to the Jays game is because a couple people on staff were going like, "Hey, that'd be kind of fun," and they sent me a message on Teams and said, hey, could we do this? And I said, here's my credit card. Just go buy a block of tickets. So it was because then you had a good corporate culture and you wanted to hang out with your colleagues in a more social setting and kick back and have fun and relax and enjoy that kind of time together.
Yeah, those things support and reinforce the underlying culture, and I think if you have a good culture, then it keeps people loyal and it keeps people motivated and it keeps people wanting to spend time with their colleagues, with their with their bosses, with their employees, because they're you're all working towards the same thing. You all understand each other. You feel like a family, and it doesn't matter whether that's a small company or a big company. If you've got the right culture, then you feel that you're part of something.
So you just also brought up another point which I wanted to explore, which is I've just given a perspective from a small agency, again, air quotes, 25 people. That's pretty small. But big company, thousands of employees, hundreds of employees. What does it mean from your perspective to have a corporate culture that is part of the fabric of the employee experience when it's that large?
Well, it's even more important actually, because
is it any different from what I just described?
Oh no, not at all, not in the slightest. It's exactly the same, because this is the key. So, I've worked for some very large companies, either as an employee or in-house consultant or whatever, over the years, and this has been in the good companies that I've done that with, and I've been lucky to be in many of them, is that the corporate culture is there. And it doesn't matter whether you're visiting the office in Singapore or New York or London. You know that you're part of that same company because the culture is there. The corporate culture is there, and you can fit into that, and you can move staff around within that company, and people will want to stay there. People will feel motivated. They'll understand it. They'll know they can talk to their colleagues anywhere in the world. They know they can go and take a job in another office because they don't have to worry. Oh, is it going to be okay? Is it going to be like this or is it going to be like that? They know it's not just familiarity. It's the confidence and comfort that you've got this great place to work, that it is a great place to work because of the fact that there is a solid, established, documented, and well communicated and well understood corporate culture. And that culture can be, sometimes quite tough. It's like we all work hard. We work for certain hours. We always make sure that we achieve certain things. We always communicate in a certain way with customers. We always make sure that we don't do other things. We always, simple things like we always wear a shirt and a tie. One of the companies I worked with, it was a rule that nobody would use the stairs in the building so long as the owner was still able to use the stairs and he worked on the top floor. So the elevator was only for guests, and that was part of the corporate culture. And it was like you just accept that. If you're with a guest, you can go in the elevator. Otherwise, you don't block it up by yourself being lazy. You take the stairs because the owner himself, who's in his 90s, can take the stairs every day to his office on the top floor. So everybody else has to. Everybody wore a suit and a tie. And those who are listening who know me know exactly which company I'm referring to.
And I'll say again, some people would probably interview there or take a look at that and go, oh my God, like
completely right. Yeah.
Like I need my slippers on and my hoodie. Maybe not in that. So then there's also like sort of just industry norms as well.
Yeah.
The Canadian Google head office is on the same block that our office is in, and I've been there several times. And that's what came to mind when you just described that. I mean, you walk into that building and that office, and you're in a Google building, in a Google office. It's fun. There are all these little elements. There's little nooks that you can go and work in, and there's pods and beanbag chairs, and there's a open cafeteria that everybody has access to, and the seating is kind of unique and funky. And for sure that attracts and generates and fosters the the Google culture, which got me thinking. Well, then how do you do that when you don't have control over the physical space, elevators, cafeterias, and curated interior designed office environments?
Well, I think again, I mean, when you've got that corporate culture. So if we refer to this this company that I mentioned that has very hard and fast, almost very old fashioned rules in a way, it worked because even when people have to then start working from home, people still turn up on Zoom calls wearing a suit and a shirt and a tie. They still make sure that they're well presented. They still make sure that they're representing that company brand in the right way. They still feel proud to be part of something. They still know that it doesn't matter whether they're dealing with colleagues or customers on the other side of the world or in the, just down the road. They are all going to be treated the same way. They're going to get the same experience, and they themselves are going to personally be rewarded and respected in the same way as well. And I think that's the key, is that it's that mutual thing, is that not only is it expected from you, but that you're going to be treated in a certain way as well. That that company is going to look after you, that they're going to respect you and respect your opinions. And if you've got a corporate culture that is as firm and as strict as the one I described, ironically, it's also a place that is very, very open to people's ideas and contributions and being willing and able and quick to change. So from a business perspective, yes, the peripherals are all very strict and very regimented, almost military in a way, now I think about it. But nonetheless, the openness to change and the willingness and the flexibility to, despite being a global leader in that particular industry, it's able to change on a on a pinhead and just take a different direction. This isn't working. Let's change it. Here's a good idea. Let's give it a go. Let's put it in a different department here. Throw some money at it. See if it works.
Right.
And I really think that that's the clever thing, is that you've got to have that balance. If you're really, really firm and strict in one way, then you've got to be very flexible in another way. And it doesn't work for some people. You're completely right. There were plenty of people who went in there and went, oh my God, this is an awful place to work. Right. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And they leave. But then there's other people who go, this is the best thing ever. And no matter where they go afterwards, they sort of find themselves drawn back to that type of thing because they miss that type of culture where they go somewhere else. And that culture is something that attracts people, and it is something that keeps people going. It is something that keeps people motivated.
I do think that in the virtual work from home world that we live in, or the hybrid situation, if it's your case, you do actually have to structure some interpersonal time. You can't just let everybody do their own thing all the time. There's got to be more than just team meetings and perfunctory sort of calendar time. There has to be collaboration and brainstorming and even some social time to allow that space for the people who enjoy that to have that. And you can even insist upon it if that is your corporate culture. Great conversation. I think that's very good. This stuff, it's so important. Any sort of summary there from your perspective of what we've talked about and where we've tried to make some points?
I think ultimately, no matter what type of culture you go for, whether it's very relaxed or very, very rigid, it has to be an environment that people feel safe, they feel welcome, and that it's something that you live by and that you commit to, and that allows people to be creative, but also feel very committed to your company and to your brand. Whether you're a team of 3 or a team of 300,000, it doesn't matter. It's just as important.
Make sure you know what it is. Make sure there's agreement on what your corporate culture is. If this is a new endeavor for you, don't just kind of do top down, like somebody at the one person or even your HR department dictate it. Obviously, I think those are obvious mistakes. But great conversation. Looking forward to the next topic in our series here. And always a pleasure, Andy. If anybody wants to get in touch with us, go to tandtimbits.com. You'll find all kinds of links to subscribe and like and share and comment and so on and so forth. Thank you, everybody. See you on the next one.